James, a couple guys you didn't have last year back on the practice field, Salim Wormley and Adisa Isaac. How would you evaluate their return in the last few weeks?
Yeah, obviously this time of year, we can be a little patient. You know, we're not a team or a program that, you know, from a medical perspective, our trainers and doctors this time of year are going to be pretty conservative and not rush those guys back. But what's nice is, you know, they were able to come out here first couple days, do some individual, then do some controlled work like one-on-ones, then be able to work into team. They're still not like full go. They're doing all the drills, they're doing every aspect, but we're still limiting the reps, if that makes sense. But I think you guys know, I mean, Adisa 2 years ago played at a really high level, so losing him last year was a significant loss for us. So having him back is exciting. And then because it kind of happened before, you know, you guys were able to see a whole lot, you know, Salim was really slotted to be a starter for us when he got the injury. He was playing at a really high level and was practicing well and doing some really good things. So that was a significant loss for us as well. So having both of those guys back is great. The jog through and the walk through reps have been really good because we've been able to keep them involved mentally as much as possible. But you know, we got to keep building with those two guys. And we're thin on the O-line right now. You know, it may impact our spring game a little bit. You know, so having him back obviously really helps.
James, how different is it, your approach when it comes to recruiting guys out of the portal as opposed to high school kids? Are these guys asking different questions, looking for different things? Because it seems interesting that you have both kind of coming in during the spring.
Yeah, you know, I would say, yeah, it's a little bit different from their perspective because they're just older and more experienced. Things that may have been important to them as freshmen, or excuse me, as seniors in high school are not really as important to them anymore. They're putting their value in different things, if that makes sense. For us, though, the process, we've tried to keep it the same. Tried to be very strategic and calculated about it. You know, it's amazing to me. There's guys that are taken out of the portal that nobody calls, and you have no idea what's happened at the previous school or what the issues may be. So we try to do as much homework as we possibly can. We talk to the high school coach. We try to call somebody at the previous school that maybe we have a relationship with that hopefully will tell us the truth. You know, and then try to get to know them as much as you possibly can. It's challenging when it happens at the end of the fall and you're trying to get it done for the spring. You know, one of the challenges that we have here is trying to get the credits evaluated. Some schools kind of have a central hub and office that kind of handles all transfer students and evaluating the prospects. We send it around to each separate school, has to evaluate their classes. And that could take anywhere, we've been told, up to 40 days, which can make the transfer process challenging for us. But we try to be as thorough as we possibly can to make sure that we're getting the right fits and bringing the right people in here.
How would you describe Manny's comfort level with the players now and the players with him as you're almost midway through spring?
I think it's growing. Obviously, it's nowhere where it will be, you know, this far into camp. But I think it's growing. You know, I think he's done a really good job in meetings. He's got a presence to him. I like how he views the game of football and how he leads. You know, I think the tweaks that we've made on defense, I think, are going to be really beneficial to us. I know the coaches and the players like it, but it's been good. But, you know, obviously there's still a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball, and there's still a lot of work to do, and there's still a lot of time between now and Purdue. I say that, but as we all know, we'll be blink and it'll be here.
James, we're from Pittsburgh, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about Vaughn Hardy. We came up and talked to him today. How's he fitting in, and has he progressed like you'd want?
Yeah, he's grown as much as any guy in our program. I'm super proud of him. As you know, he was a kind of a late take for us. You know, an undersized guy, and you know that probably with the NFL and college is probably you know, over critiqued in a lot of ways. the guy's just a football player. I remember, I think I was at the state championship game with Terry, and he scored like every way possible. Kick return for a touchdown, I think a punt return for a touchdown, I think an interception for a touchdown. I think he had 5 touchdowns in the state championship game, and me and Terry kind of looked at ourselves and we're like, we're making this harder than it needs to be. And he's just found ways to make plays since he's been here. And I think the last 2 years, you've really seen him take a step. So I think he's going to have another big year for us, build on it. He's really turned into a high production, low maintenance guy, which you can't have enough of those guys in your program. I think he's very comfortable here. I think he's very comfortable with the coaching staff. And I think he's gained a lot of confidence both academically and athletically. So I'm really proud of him. I'm glad you guys are doing a story on him because it's well deserved. And I think he's a really good example for some young kids back in the Pittsburgh area to look up to.
James, how have you seen Christian Bayou develop so far this spring?
I think he's just really kind of built on the experience and the success that he's had last year. He's kind of cool, calm, and collected all the time. That's kind of his demeanor. But I've been impressed with him. I think obviously that experience he had last year, where he played and had success, I think has been really beneficial to him and for us, to be honest with you. Because as we went through last year, as you guys know, as well as anybody, you never really know what you have with your backup quarterback until they get in and get legitimate game time. So that's invaluable. And then I think he's just kind of build on that, daily and weekly.
You mentioned getting things settled on the defensive side of the ball. And the defensive line, you've got a lot of versatility up front, it seems, a lot of guys that can rush the pass. But at the edge, do you feel like you have a good balance between interior and exterior pressure?
Yeah, I think edge pressure is probably the area we have to improve. Adisa's the one guy that flashes consistently. There's other guys, you see Smith Milbert obviously had 3 sacks in the bowl game, but it needs to be more consistent. Tarburton is kind of a guy who's going to wear people down and do it with effort and do it with motor. And his skills and his technique continue to grow. We probably need to continue to kind of grow his toolbox of moves on the perimeter. But we need more consistent edge pressure. So between developing the guys we have, and then obviously we're looking into the portal a little bit for that as well. Very similar to what we did with AK. We got to find somebody that can come in and help us, with edge pressure and affecting the quarterback.
How long does it take a guy like Aller and maybe Singleton, some of the younger guys, get up to speed with you guys and what you're doing?
Yeah, it's different, right? It's individual by individual. Some guys pick it up real fast. Some guys it takes a little bit longer. It really just depends on the guy. Some guys it's mental, some guys it's physical, and some guys it's emotionally. They're just not mature enough yet to handle school and football at the same time. So it's really on a case by case basis.
You lost a lot of leadership voices, on defense with Ellis and Jesse moving on. Who are the guys that you look to this spring to kind of take on their role?
Yeah, it's one of the things that we've talked about, right? How many times do you hear, coaches talk about, during the season or after the season that they're not comfortable with where they are from a leadership standpoint. So identifying who those guys are, developing it from the beginning. The defensive side of the ball, the guys that I would say that really kind of jump out is PJ Mustafer, obviously, Tarburton, Tig. I'm missing somebody. They're going to be mad at me. But on the defense side of the ball, Tig really jumps out to me. Tarburton really jumps out to me. PJ really jumps out to me, and I'm missing somebody. But those are the guys that jump out to me.
As a coaching staff, how do you balance the urgency you might feel to change long-term trends with the patience to embrace a team in the short term for what it is at the moment?
Yeah, I think you really have to do both, right? You always have to be, thinking short term and how can we maximize what we have right now, but then also building for the future. If I'm reading into your question, I think it's, maybe the transfer portal. You talk about programs that say they're going to sign 12 to 15 players out of the transfer portal, and those guys have probably a better chance to come in and impact right away compared to the long term of recruiting a high school player and letting them develop. The other thing you hope is that they'll be patient enough to develop, because if you recruit the high school kid and they decide to leave after a year because they're frustrated and think they should be playing, then obviously then you probably should go more to the transfer portal. So hopefully our culture here provides an opportunity for both, for us to solve problems in the transfer portal, be able to develop long term as well. But I know, talking to a lot of coaches, they're not going to take the risk. They're not going to take the chance. They're going to go get immediate impacts, which I get. I think you can make both arguments. You really could. I also know that some of the guys that are in the transfer portal are in the transfer portal for a reason. There's some guys that are their third time in it, So I think it's back the same thing. It's got to take it case by case. For me, it always helps me with the transfer portal if we recruited the young man on the front end, so we've known him longer. You're not trying to get to know him in 2 weeks in between the semesters. So I think that factors into it a little bit as well. But you're really trying to balance the two. There was an article that came out today that I'm going to show the coaching staff tomorrow, that there's a lot of programs across the country that are really struggling with depth, and that spring games across the country have been modified because they don't have the depth to do a traditional spring game. So there's no doubt that the landscape of college football has changed dramatically. I just even saw some articles and some comments and press conferences for basketball coaches talking about the same thing. So it's interesting.
How has Akeem Beeman factored in for you this spring?
Good. Yeah, he's going all spring and taking reps. I'm not sure I really understand.
I mean, how's he look? Because obviously he wasn't available for you last year. Do you expect
he's
to have
obviously been a really talented guy since the time we recruited him. We got to keep developing him both on and off the field and put him in the best position to be successful for us. He's really grown up. I'm a big fan of his, but he's still got some work to do in a lot of areas.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you.